Պարիլույս, ուրեմն Nelly Khachatryan-ը քիչ միդուշանամ երեդը, so մենք արդեն մի դիսկսինք. Good morning. Thank you for everyone who's already joined the room. And as you can see for the topic of today, hosted by Birthright Armenia, AVC, and Repair Armenia, it's about hospitality in Armenia and how much is too much. With me, we have my lovely panelists, Gohar Khachatryan, Eva Minasyan, Nelly Poliakov, and Nelly Khachatryan. How is everyone doing today?
Good, really good.
Good,
Great.
thank you.
It's my first Clubhouse. I'm worried and nervous, but otherwise good.
Me too, and I'm from France, so I have an accent.
We'll ease you all into it, don't worry. As you can see, everyone has their party hats because they're all new. So we'll try to do justice to today's room. So just a quick round of introductions. We'll go with the natural order. Gohar, can you please introduce yourself?
Of course. So my name is Gohar Khachatryan. I work as a program manager at Birthright Armenia, and one of the things I do is place volunteers for the host families, and that's why I'm here.
I feel like that's one of the rewarding jobs at Birthright. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Eva Jan, introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm a current AVC volunteer. I'm from France originally. I'm volunteering in the film industry here. I've been here in Armenia since April, and I plan to stay at least until December. Yeah, that's it.
Well, December is my birthday month, and I hope you remember. So it's a great month. It's a great month.
Perfect.
Thank you for that introduction, Eva Jan. Nelly, you need no introduction, but do give us one.
Hi everyone, I am Nelly. I am the creative director of Birthright Armenia and AVC. And mostly I'm a repat from France, and I'm here for 1.5 years in Armenia.
We have a lot of francophones this morning, which is always a good feature. I miss that
cool.
area. Thank you, Nelly.
Welcome.
And Nelly Khachatryan, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Nelly. I'm Human Resource Manager Trainer and Birthright Armenia host family for a long time.
It's actually very interesting to have you today because we always hear from the organizational side of things, and it's good to have someone who hosts young people, young professionals. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting.
Okay, so to get right to it, as you've already been accustomed to, we have a list of questions that we want to go through with each individual, each panelist, and I'll get right to it. Gohar Jan, you're my first prey because you're standing right next to me. I mean, not literally, but you are. So my question to you would be, why do we encourage our volunteers to live with host families?
Okay, so since the day that Birthright Armenia was created, we realized that when diaspora Armenians come to Armenia to learn more about their homeland and to connect with it, there is no way that they can do that fully, to the full extent, if they're not living with a host family. So we made that a priority. And basically everywhere we go, whether we go to Gyumri, we used to go to Artsakh or anywhere else, we always place volunteers to live with the host families, and we don't rent a place for them, we don't place them in a hotels or hostels, it's always a host family. That's the idea.
So that is, for example, to get them accustomed to the culture, get them to learn about what the situation is on the ground. But is there a sentimental value of why you want them to live with host families?
I always tell host families whenever I recruit them, I tell them, for our volunteer, you represent Armenia. You're not just some people they're living with, but everything they think about you, they're gonna think, oh, Armenians are like this and Armenians are like that, and that's why your job is so important. And of course, there is a sentimental value because it's a human connection. You you connect, you bond. The volunteers often like go to weddings, and right now we have an alumni who came, all the way despite all the COVID restrictions to Armenia to participate at her host sister's wedding here. So yeah, the connection becomes real, and it's kept on through years, and it's beautiful.
Oh wow! Imagine taking a flight to partake in the wedding of someone you met a few years back. That's beautiful. So thank you for that input. So Eva John, you're next to her. So and being a Birthright volunteer yourself currently, could you share your experiences with living with your current host family, and how have you been welcomed?
It's been absolutely wonderful. I've been welcomed like a member of the family. It's like my own family, honestly. It is. I think that the thing I always say is that I'd originally planned to stay only 1 month in a host family and then find my own place. I'm AVC, so obviously I'm older. I'm very independent. I'm used to living by myself, and so I thought, okay, 1 month just to settle in, just to get myself into the rhythm of the country and see how people live, and I extended. I kept extending my stay because it was so great and because I loved my host family so much. I want to add something that's not directly related to Armenia, but with host families in general. When I was 17, I went to live in Canada. I did an exchange program. And the program had a mandatory stay in host families, but in several host families throughout the years, at least 3. The reason for that is so that students from all over the world would get used to different ways of living. Not just one family, but they would really get traditions for the place where they were staying. And I feel like in Armenia it's exactly like that, and people should stay in a host family because that's the only way to properly live in a country. Is not to live in a hotel or a hostel or just by yourself when you don't know Armenia, but to live with a family, to be part of the traditions, to be part of their fights, to be part of their happy moments, to become a member of that family. And that's what it's been for me. I actually I have to be honest about it. I just got my own place finally now, but I'm still meeting with my host sisters regularly. We go for coffee together. We meet up. I go back to have dinner. So it's almost like having left the nest, but still going back on a regular basis. So yeah.
I love how you said host sisters. I had never heard that sentence before.
Yeah. Well, we say imquir when we're together, so like they're actually my sisters. I have 2.
I, I mean, Eva, I've never had the pleasure of staying with a host family ever in my life, but from the way
Oh.
you express it and the tone of voice you have, I can almost see the glimmer in your eyes. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I would come home from work pretty late, and they also would come really late, and we would just sit in the kitchen and talk until like 3 a.m. Even on like weekdays. So yeah, very, very strong connection here, and I recommend that to absolutely everyone.
And I love how you didn't shy away from saying, uh, being present with their good times, the fights, etc.,
Oh
because
yeah,
there are people at the end of the day. They have their up and
absolutely.
down.
It's a family. It's a
Yep,
family.
amazing. Thank you for that input. You,
You're
I feel like if
welcome.
someone hears that your part, they will be excited to live with the host family. To be honest, it it's very enthusiastic. And now that it's Nelly's turn, being the seasoned professional she is, and with a lot of experience, it's been a year and a half, right? So, having moved from France to Armenia, has the warmth of locals attracted or repelled you? Because I know there's a cultural difference between France and Armenia. So 1 year and a half facing Armenian hospitality, did something change in you?
But I won't speak about host family because I don't have the experience of living in a host family. But yeah, in overall, if I can speak about the Armenian hospitality, you're right. In France, it's really different. And to give the context, I decided to come to repatriate in Armenia when I started to feel that my behavior in France and in Paris, mostly because we are called people in Paris, my behavior there was kind of different of my culture, my Armenian education and culture, and I felt that I'm becoming cold in comparison with my parents and my family. So I started to think why I'm becoming like that. I don't like this difference. So maybe I should go to Armenia to experience the warmth of Armenians, and maybe it will change something inside me. So I did that. And so I'm here like for 1.5 years, and I feel the difference. But it's like, if I give some little examples, now when I welcome people in my house, I can't understand how before I could like have an empty table, for example, because now I feel so bad because I saw so many good examples of Armenians family who welcomed me with like a full table, like table full of everything and so warm. So now I'm doing the same. I take the example, but before it was so normal for me to not do that kind of small things. So yeah, it changed a lot. I changed, but sometimes it's also challenging for me to have too much hospitality around me. I don't know if it's because I'm Parisian or if it's because sometimes it's too much. I don't know.
I love how you said Parisian, because Parisians are a different breed of people.
Yeah, they are.
No, but I completely understand. I've been on the other end of the spectrum. We're coming from the Armenian culture, at least in Lebanon, of smothering people with a lot of affection, with lots of food. And I moved to Belgium for the first time. I saw the other side of not having someone put something on the table. And I was like, Habibi, what's wrong? You know, in Makur Hayr and Habibi, what's wrong? But I've never heard the other side of the story of someone having to deal with the opposite. And do you think, if you ever go back to France, that the Parisian in you will start to come out again, or will you continue? This is your life now. This is how you want to continue.
I think I will continue like that, but I think it will be harder for me to notice that the hospitality is not always there in Paris if I go back there. Because after having experienced Armenia, it's so different. So I think it will be hard for me if I go back to France.
Then yeah, the answer is easy. You don't go back to France and you
Yes,
live in
that's
Armenia,
right. I
as
stay in
anyone
Armenia.
would say. The easiest answer. Thank you, Nelly. Of course, it's never easy to change one's culture, one's customs, but I think you're in one that's I think an upgrade. I think it's the best way to live life
Mm.
this way. But I'm biased, so Nelly Khachatryan, thank you for being here, and it's interesting because you're host mother, let's say, because Eva said host sisters. Um, how have you felt the cultural differences between your family and the incoming volunteers in terms of hospitality? Because as you saw now, our Nelly said that she experienced it, and so from the family side, you're experiencing the host daughter, host son, feel a bit weird, feel a bit off. Do you feel like they are not used to this much of hospitality? And if so, how?
Oh. Yes, I always feel the difference is between this hospitality and first years when I just started to be a host family. Uh, and first, I want to say that it is amazing for me to be a host family for different people. As I'm not mistaken, I have had already 15 girls to live with me, and almost all of us we became friends. And yes, from the beginning, when I was giving, I was trying to give too much hospitality, maybe. And I started to understand that maybe I'm disturbing them a little bit, going into their life or into their way of living too much. And I started to be a little bit far from them and give the family as much as I can and be friend, but to not be with them all the time. First years, I think I was doing it wrong, but now we don't have any problems. Now I'm trying to give them their own space and to have mine too. And I'm always getting hmm, back. Sorry, I forgot the word. Like they're always coming back. They're always coming to see me. They always keep in touch with me. They're always like thankful for the time that we spent together. How Eva said, sitting in the kitchen and talking until 3 o'clock in the morning or even more sometimes. They're always telling me that the hospitality that they can feel in our house, it's not too much, it's not disturbing, but it still exists, and they're like they're happy to feel it. And I just want to tell about like something Gohar told, that there is a alumni who came to for a wedding party. I wanted to say that I had alumni who came to spend with me the last month of pregnancy and be with me around like 1 month and a half and help me here with the new child and housework and everything. And this is amazing for me, really.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Wow. How does one even explain that kind of bond with someone you met a short while back and that is willing to leave everything and come with you, stay with you
Yeah,
for the last month of pregnancy?
yeah.
I don't even have family members that would do that. But
Yeah,
it's a
maybe.
joke. Um, it's very interesting to hear your point of view, Nelly John, especially because you had to deal with a multitude of cultures. Do you know more or less what where the majority of people were from? Of course you know, but were they all different, or it was mostly France, mostly the US?
Oh, Canada, US, mm, France, I think. Yeah, mostly maybe Canada.
So it's interesting because I've went from Lebanon to Europe, and for me also I remember the first culture shock where I was living with cousins, and I asked my cousin where she's going, because in the family in Lebanon, you're always like, you want to know where everyone is, what's happening, and there was a frustration from their end, and I never did that again. I never asked anyone where they're going, where they're coming from, and now I don't like to be asked where I'm going, where I'm coming from. So I understand it also changes someone to to adapt to new circumstances. So it's good that at least you're managing to create these bonds, although you're not as the way you were with the first time you had a host son or a host daughter. So it's
Yeah.
nice. So at this point, Nelly Jan Poliakov.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. I
Yes.
want to ask something to Nelly, to the other Nelly. How did you feel that maybe it can be too much for the people you welcomed at your place?
Oh, thank you for this good question, because really I don't know. I started to ask questions. I started to speak with them, but not directly asking questions. Am I too much for you? It was just questions about life, about their families, about their friends or mothers, about talking about my mother, how she's doing, dealing with me, and trying to understand the way they think, how much they want me to be in their life involved. And
Okay.
That was an like I started to see the differences. I started to have different answers for my questions, and then I started to change myself into a way to be hospitable, but to not damage and to not be all the time with them, and to not ask them where you go. Now I'm not even asking. They're always telling me where they are. They're always writing me if they're coming a little bit late or something.
That's so nice that you try to adapt the, because I think like you did that because you know that they have different culture than yours, than Armenians. So it's really cool to know that we can have host families who will always adapt to us. I say us because I'm a repat too, so I could be a volunteer. So like it's really nice to know because for me when I said that sometimes it's challenging, it's because sometimes it's too much for me. And if I take the example of the food, it's so cool to have a lot of food, but sometimes food on the table is taking too much space. And then we are just talking about the food, and everything is related to the food on the table. And then I really like, maybe it's my tolerance, but I really ask people like, can you sit and can we just talk and discuss and have a normal like moment together? Because I understand you want me to eat and I will eat, but it's okay. It's not so important.
Yeah, it can be too much sometimes.
Orientation day, Gohar was saying something that stuck with me about becoming a part of the family. Obviously, I'm used to host families, so I know that, I understand that. But becoming a part of the family is different from staying a guest. And about that, I feel that obviously a lot of people like are birthriders, and so they're a bit younger, and maybe it's harder when you're younger, like you don't have that experience, or it's a question of personality. But you can set your own limits. Like for me, it worked out really well because I'm really honest, and I'm really good at setting my own limits, and I'm not afraid of hurting or being improper, or I'm good with sharing. But like Nelly said, I also need my space, and I spent a lot of time in my room. When I came home from work, sometimes I didn't want to talk to anyone, and I just went to my room. And a few hours later, I would go down for tea. I would. I wasn't afraid to live my life in the house, in the family. I wasn't afraid to set my own limits. And they respected those limits. Like it worked out really well between us. Like we respected each other, basically. We respected our own space. And I feel that's very important to get to that point of not being shy. Because
Say
if you
no.
are, if you pull back, if you're afraid of hurting, if you're afraid of if you're forcing yourself to eat, like for instance, I also, like for me, like eating so much is too much. I will sit and I will not eat, and they will try to push things on me, and I will be no, love him, and I will keep saying throughout the meal, and they will keep pushing, and that's okay. I still won't eat if I don't want to eat. And we would laugh about it after a while. Like once they got me, we just would laugh about it. But it's important, if you're shy about these things, if you're afraid to hurt people, if you're afraid to seem improper, you might have a bad time. You might, if you're not used to this type of hospitality, it might be hard to experience that. So just be clear about who you are, what you want. After a few days, once you see how the family works, the timing, the rhythm, all of that, you can settle in. For instance, I don't eat breakfast. That's just not my thing. I'm not a morning person, so I don't eat breakfast. And once you talk about these things with your family and you explain and you show, then it works out fine. It's just don't be afraid to speak up. You'll have a much, much nicer stay. if you can set your limits.
But you're right. You're right that the difference is that you're not a guest because you're a member of the family. But I
Exactly.
imagine that for the guests, and it's interesting that you said that because I met so many people this year who spent a bad moment because they told me like it was too much and I couldn't say no, and then it was like always and always eating and always, and I was like I wanted to go home but they didn't let me because like in Armenian they say like amota, like gnervem. So I wanted to ask Gohar because of her experience. Did you meet some volunteers who told you that it's too much? I mean, I don't know if you had that kind of cases or no.
You know, the story that comes to mind, we had this volunteer. She actually went hitchhiking with her friend, and the guy who picked them up was like, you have to come to my house, absolutely. And they were already late, they had to come back to Yerevan. He drove them to their house, he made them have dinner and drink, and this poor girl, she was like, I just wanted to get home, so I had to like pour my vodka under the table, they're sitting in a garden. And she was like so traumatized. It's like, we got home really late. I have many extreme cases like this because when a problem happens with a host family, we're usually able to detect it. And then I talk to the family and I talk to volunteer and kind of smooth it out. And so it doesn't become a big deal. But I do remember one another experience with a host family when, I don't know, this family is just super, 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 super nice and hospitable to the point when I go there to visit them, there's like a full table of food and I'm like, I just came for 5 minutes to give you this paper, you know. And so they did that to the volunteer, and they also, so I heard this story from a volunteer. She's like, one morning I go to get breakfast and they give me like this like an Armenian taras kind of thing, and I'm like, why? And then I talked to the family. It's like, oh, it was a gift just because. I'm like, but it's not her birthday. It's not Christmas. It's not like, why do you just randomly give her a gift? So we have some things like that, of course.
But I want to ask a question to Nelly Khachatryan, because her being a host mother, how would you want people to address these kinds of situations? How do you want them to talk to you when they say, you know what, this is too much for me? Because sometimes I feel like everyone isn't as courteous to the host family, and they're a bit more abrupt, they're a bit more mean, they're a bit more cruel in the way they might say, or I don't know, I'm guessing, or maybe they show their frustration too much. How would you want someone to address this kind of situation?
First, I would like to tell Gohar that maybe she can ask every family to do the same that I'm doing. The first day they are coming, I'm asking them to give me like around 40 minutes and sit with me and have tea or coffee or water, whatever they want, just for questions. First of all, are you a person who eat breakfast? What do you eat? What kind of allergies do you have? Do you have ones or not? Smoking, not smoking? Usually what you don't prefer or dislike, like you don't like to eat, smells, and these kind of questions. When like sometimes even I'm writing down to have all the answers and to not do or to do the things that they want to do. And then the conversation ends in a way that I'm asking them to be very direct with me and honest, and to not put pressure on themselves, thinking that vai amota, as Nelly said, that to say something that it is too much, or I don't want to come and sit with you, or I don't want to have dinner right now, or I want to go to my room and close the door. Just be very like strict, direct. Tell me that, Nelly, now I want to have a rest, or Nelly, I don't want to sit with your cousins or friends now because I'm too tired or something. I think if for me it works if I'm doing it from the beginning, the first day, like very, very being very like honest with them and asking them to do the same for me. But sometimes when the first years when I was losing this time to ask questions, to understand who they are, what they want, and what kind of food or some other things they like or dislike, we were losing this connection, and sometimes we were having problems too. And I was having problems too. If I'm in a host family, it doesn't mean that I need to do everything for them, and they are not the people who need to through the steps that I'm doing for them. But as Eva mentioned, we are family. We are not. They are not guests, and we just need to not lose this connection, and to not lose the part that we already did too much for for each other, and this too much becomes to be our amot to ask something to each other. I think the first day, first time, first hour that they're coming to host family, these things needs to be settled already.
I think that's actually great advice to AVC Birthright. What they can do is create a checklist that's pushed by the host families and asked to the people who are going to live with them, and basically go through all the questions or everything that might annoy them or bother them along the line, and just get it done and dusted, and just begin that journey with each other. So, Nelly, I think that's great advice that you gave.
Yeah, thank you. And because now I have two children, I want to advise another thing too. Usually, every time they're coming, I'm telling about my children, about first of all my boy, because now he's 6 years old, so he's the active one. So maybe families need to tell what kind of kid it is, and to tell the times of their like being very energetic and active, so the volunteer will know the times, the way, how and what the child is going to do at home if there is a host family with children. Because always I'm telling that, oh, my boy is doing this things. This time he's waking up this at on this time. We are leaving home at this time, coming back, and like I'm just explaining everything and asking them, can he sometimes ask you to come to your room and sometimes spend time with you, because he loves to do this. This is his favorite thing. When the volunteer comes, he loves to go and spend some time with them. And whenever I'm directly asking, having the answer, and then I'm trying to control my boy what to do and what to not do.
So, one of the requirements for the volunteer is to like children. If they don't like children, they won't be staying with you.
If they're coming to my house, they need to like children and to like guests because we always have guests at home.
Yeah, but because this is one of the important things. As much
Yeah,
as people want to know about the host family, the host families want to know about the volunteer. It goes both ways.
yeah.
Can I add
Absolutely.
something? Oh, sorry, Gohar, you want to say something?
No, just a quick comment that we do ask volunteers what kind of families do they want to stay with. So families with children, families with teenagers, families just an older couple, no children. Do you
No, I
want
mean,
pets?
ask the host families what kind of people they want, what kind of volunteers they want to stay with them as
Oh,
well. Yeah, because Nelly wants someone who likes children.
No. No, I always tell Gohar that I don't know. I don't want any other information but the day and time when they will come.
yeah, exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think everyone's already doing a great job. That's why y- the your work speaks for itself. I think. Nelly, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, but it's more related to hospitality once again, because I experienced hospitality mostly in the villages. And I don't know if it's just my opinion or if there like some people also felt that hospitality in the villages it brings a gender issue for me because I felt a lot, and this summer also, that it's on the shoulder of the woman most of the time, and it was really like difficult for me to see that women were like they were preparing all day long the how do you say that, the fact that they will host me and another group, and at the end of the day, at the end of the when the dinner started, they never ate with us because they were so tired, and always bringing food and always making sure that everything is on the table and everything is okay, and the husbands were like, don't forget that and do that, and they were not even sitting with us. And at the end of my journey in a village, it was kind of hard for me to see that, and I didn't appreciate anymore this hospitality because it was too obvious. This difference and these contrasts were too obvious for me, and then I didn't appreciate that. So I know that it's in the villages, but sometimes I start to think, and I start to talk about that with the women of my generation in Armenia and in Yerevan, that why sometimes the guest is more important than you or than your family, and why when you bring people to your house you want your children to sleep on the floor, you can tell the guests to sleep on the floor, and why do you need one full day to prepare things. And I remember when Annie, my colleague, uh, started in my team, and one day we prepared something on Sunday, gathering with the colleagues, and she told me no, because I have to prepare the something I don't remember, like all Sunday I have to dedicate my Sunday to prepare to host a Chegidem Ov, I don't know who. And then for me it was like, why do you take one full day just to host people? For me it's not okay, and 1 year and a half after my repatriation it's still not okay to dedicate too much time to prepare and to host someone, because it shouldn't be so important. So maybe it's because I'm kind of French, but I think I won't change that, because you can host people and it can be really nice with little things. Like you don't need to have too much things, you don't need to give too much, because simple things can be also nice. So I think I will never change that. But of course, I want to be more like warmth, and I think it's working. But things will never change, and I don't know. For me, it's. I don't know if it was clear, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Nelly, about that, I have an input, as in, from my experience with work, where I'm working, it's a very modern office. It's like all the people, like they're young, they're amazingly open on the world. But whenever there's a meeting, whenever we have guests, whenever even just the boss is here, the only ones who are making the coffee and who are preparing cookies and fruit and cakes are the girls. And we have guys. It's a quite there's quite a good mix of boys and girls, and it's always the girls. And there's no reason other than culture. It's a cultural thing, and I feel that this is shocking me, and I say it. They laugh about it. Like I say, like, come on guys, why aren't you making the coffee? Why is it the girls? So I think that about that, it's a very cultural thing. And I mean, I don't. It's not about changing things, but it's the way of thinking. It's education. It has to do with so many things, and in that way, in that regard, I feel like Armenia is still quite sexist in that sense. You just have to learn how to deal with it, and when they know that, like, if it's only me at the office, I'm gonna say no, sorry, I'm not making the coffee, you are, to the guys. And somehow it's working out, like we're laughing about it, and I think that they're like we're influencing each other. I'm not like things are not changing overnight, but we're definitely are talking about it definitely helps, and laughing about it.
I mean, it's Gohar, you want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we know we often have like male volunteers staying with a host family, and I always tell them, please, please try and participate in the housework. And it's not going to be easy, but you have to do it. And we often like I place male volunteers on the families when there is a when the family has a boy, and I could see like I don't know, there's a 9-year-old boy there, and I've hosted volunteers over 6 years, and now this boy is 12 and 13 and 14 and 15, and they see that it's normal for a guy to wash dishes or clear the table. And I think that we're changing something, even if it's very little, but that's something that has to be changed, and it has to happen. So sometimes I feel like the volunteers affect that a little bit.
Absolutely, this is so true. I see it with my volunteer friends and the Armenian family that I'm with. It does impact, like the living together and sharing our different ways. It definitely impacts all of.
I mean, at the end of the day, listening to Nelly's input, Eva's input, both of you being French Armenians, I think for Armenia, it's a progressive thing. As you stated, in the villages, they're like this, and maybe in the city as well, they're a bit more, uh, let's say, traditional as opposed to how it is in France. And I don't want to say traditional, but at the end of the day, when you link it to culture, you're linking it to the traditions and what men do and what women do. I'm opposed to it. I don't think it should be that way. But at the end of the day, I do also come from Lebanon, where it's much of the same situation. Um, Comparing it to France, it would give it would be giving injustice, because you're so, I think, ahead with the gender role agenda, and whereas countries like Lebanon, Armenia, they're still very much tied to the roots of what a man and woman should do in a household or in general. That said, it gives an authenticity to your stay in Armenia, but at the same time, I agree that you don't have to agree with it. But hopefully we're moving into the direction of being more progressive as a nation, being more progressive in the things we do, and we just have to deal with the fact that Armenians, as it stands, will smother you with a lot of hospitality when you're there, and in ways maybe that you don't agree with. But that's the situation in large.
No, but still, I mean, if you compare with France, now if I compare the pros and cons hospitality, honestly, now I feel that it's a shame, but un mota, when in France they host you and like they really don't care. It's too much. It's too extreme as well. It's too cold. It's like, I mean, come on, consider me a little at least. So it's kind of it's not okay. So honestly, I prefer Armenian hospitality. Like, yeah, like there is a big difference, but yeah, it brings some issues, gender issues and inequality, of course. But it's so cool to know that if you go somewhere, they will always welcome you the best way they can. And if they have, and it's the family who has nothing that want to give you the most. And it's amazing. Honestly, it's an amazing experience each time. So yeah, I would advise French people to do that more. And when I did my birthday in France, my parents were like, "Come on, Nelly, take more food." And I was like, "No, it's okay. We will dance. It's okay. Don't need food, just alcohol and dance." And they were like, "No, no, food." And still today, my friends write me like, "I remember this Armenian fourchette," they say in Armenian. "I remember this Armenian buffet. It was amazing. I can't wait for your another bird." It's like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, no, no, it's amazing, honestly.
Can I ask a provoking question?
You can, but I can't guarantee it's going to have a good ending.
So, I was thinking about what Nelly said, and because I knew I was going to talk at this at the Clubhouse, I was talking to my friends, and one of them said something interesting. She said, sometimes I think that Armenian hospitality, when you go to a stranger's house and they put a full table, it's almost like what's the right word here? It's almost like they have no choice. They have to do it. So even if they don't want to do it, they have to. And it's almost like not sincere. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. I think it's sincere in that local. It feels like at least Armenians in general like to eat and like to drink. They like life. They're lively people. They like partying. As in, having party in the house, having at least all the people I've been in contact with here, and all the Armenians I know, even back in Europe or North America where I've lived. There's I get what you're saying about the like saving the appearances, like saving face, and maybe there is a part of it like if they're not putting up a big table, it would equate to losing face somehow. But I think that they also truly enjoy it. I mean, from what I've seen, they truly enjoy it. It makes them happy to be able to offer this to people. It makes them happy to share. The sharing is seems to be really important. It's a sharing culture.
Question, Gohar, which was much big tables with lots of food, with lots of kenats, with everything that usually we are doing. But I want to say that this is one thing that I changed in my family. These big tables, this putting pressure on myself, making one day before big dinner to have guests around. This is what I changed during the time that I'm host family, and now I'm trying always to have everything in equal way to cook, to serve, to wash or to clean, and everything we're doing, to do it with whole families, I mean, with host, with the family and with the volunteers that I have, or with guests too. So I made my guests to feel as a family member too. So whenever they're coming, like if I'm trying, like I'm going to have some dinner or something, some uh, gatherings together, my guests are the people now who are and cooking and participating on everything and serving. And so I'm not the person who is all the time on her feet, running from kitchen to living room, putting the table and then cleaning and then not understanding what is happening in my house. So this is what I changed by being host family.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can never ask an Armenian not to be hospitable. It's in our blood. I hear stories of people, and coming back to the village side, it's where you see the most genuine and raw interest to invite someone in, to care for someone. It's so raw, it's so endearing that people exist that want to genuinely help because they understand how hard it is to live without that hospitality. Maybe they've stayed without it, they've had to live without it, and they just want to give more. I remember one of my friends telling me a story about how when two French people were lost in a village somewhere, and not Armenian French, but French, they came across his neighbor because he decided for some reason to leave the city and live on the outskirts of Yerevan. And he just told me about the story of when his neighbor came across two French people walking in the village, lost apparently, asking for directions. And instead of saying, "Oh, just go straight and take the bus and leave," it was dark. So he not only hosted those two Frenchmen for the night with a lot of Ganats. Apparently, he was above 70, so he really liked the French people, and offered a lot of food and even gave one of his spare houses so they could stay in. And he said, "You can stay as much as you want." And that's the raw, genuine hospitality that not only us Armenians can see and can witness and can live and can enjoy in Armenia, but also a non-Armenian can. And I think that speaks for itself as a nation we are and as a people we are. Not for just for us, the diaspora, but also for everyone who want to learn more about the country and the history. I hope everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Ayo. But me, I said everything I wanted to say. I mean, we can say so many things about hospitalities and the issues and the good things it brings. But for me, yeah, it's like it was good discussion about that, and it's good to remind people that when they do Birthright Armenia or AVC to do volunteering in Armenia, in part of the experience, they have this option to live in a host family. And the stories are amazing always. And the host families are becoming families for them. And it's the first link with Armenia. And this is what we wanted to showcase and to highlight with this conversation. So thank you, Gohar, really.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. And also, if you know anybody who lives in Armenia and will want to host volunteers, please, please, please tell them to contact Birthright Armenia, and I'll be in touch with them about that. By the way, we do pay our host families, so that hosting a volunteer doesn't add to your costs, but you can get a little bit of money so you don't have to worry about the costs.
I feel like what I'd like people to get away with this conversation is that in the end, we're all humans and communication is key. And like, if you feel slightly uncomfortable with the hospitality, don't wait. Say something with a family, with Gohar, with your friends, talk about it. And taking things with a little bit of humor helps. A lot of humor helps even more. Armenians have a really great sense of humor, and I feel that we shouldn't take things so seriously. Just communicate and enjoy that time.
Well, I guess when I do end up doing my volunteering work that I've avoided for years at this point, I'll take all of that into consideration and enjoy my host family. I hope that day comes sooner than not. So on that note, thank you for everyone in the panelists today. Gohar, Eva, Nelly Khachatryan, our host mom, as you put it. And thank you for everyone who joined us and listened in to Hospitality in Armenia. How much is too much? Thank you for Birthright Armenia, AVC, Repelled Armenia. And we're looking forward to seeing you soon in our next room, I guess.
Thank you, Garo.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Likewise, have
Have
a
a
good
good
one,
day.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.